wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna shake the ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milam. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Mountaineer Nation. I'm the Wolfman, Dale Wolfley, and welcome on this June 19th, this Juneteenth day, this day of freedom, right? Welcome to the Wolfman's Call. Boy, there's a lot going on. A lot has happened, and we just got to keep up with it. But before we do that, we got to get to some things. I hope everybody's doing well on this day. I feel like I'm a little bit punchy, man. I feel a little punchy today. I feel a little bit ready to go, a little bit, maybe swing a little bit. I'm not sure. But let's get into this and let's have a good day here on the Wolfman's Call. Let's figure out good things, be positive, and I think we can do all of that. Even though I'm a little bit punchy, you're just like pop, 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 right? Let's get it going here. So before we get it going with Frank Fair, because you know it's Monday, right? Frank's got some good stuff coming on. He's going to talk about the name, image, and likeness, and something that I said last week, stimulated the thought process for him to go ahead and look this up. I don't know what I said, but it's good if there's any kind of stimulation there from my thought process. And for sure, it's a big deal. And I want everybody to do this. Is go ahead. I got to get this out of the way. And that is subscribe on YouTube. So you go to YouTube and you subscribe if you like to do that. West Virginia football at the voice of college football. Why? Because you know why. The Wolfman is called Rocks Football. Frank Fear. You had Nico Marchio on last week. You got Darryl Prue coming on today as well. All these people that come on, we lost. We don't even know where Reno is. Maybe we'll get where's Reno today? I have no idea. But go ahead, sign up. If you're on Facebook, share it, man. Share it. And if you're on Twitter, retweet it. Please. I mean, we want to get this out there because we're going to be covering some lot of good stuff here in football, West Virginia, and football all together, because we're not just going to be focusing on WVU. We're going to be spread out and bringing you what's important in football or what are current events. And that's what the WolfMan's Call is all about. And before I get into that, there's one other thing I want to talk to you about, and that, of course, is what I do every single time, and that is Game Changer, right? Game Changer. One pill can kill. It's important, preventing opioid and substance abuse to West Virginia's youth. I can't stress it enough. It's GameChangerUSA.org. Get involved, get ready, because it's that important. By the way, did you enjoy the Power Mini, the batteries there? That video? That was a pretty cool video. We're so happy to have them on board. They are a part of our sponsors, a part of the WolfMan's Call, the team. We're really happy. Listen, if you want to save money, if you want to save money and you want to be recharged over 500 times, if you don't ever want to buy AA batteries again, like in all those game sets and all those game consoles, all those, because I know my family does. Well, I'm not doing it now, because you know why? Because I have Power Mini batteries, and all we do is recharge them. I'm not going out and buying anymore. 15 billion alkaline batteries every year ends up in the landfalls, every single year. Think about it. Paul Mini, paulmini.com. Proud to have him on the WolfMan's Call. All right. So besides that, it is time now for the Frank Fear Hour. Frank, are you there?
I'm here, Wolfman. Good to see you as always.
It is wonderful to see you. It's good to see a good face, especially after a tough weekend.
Right.
See familiar faces, guys that are, in the foxhole, who we are, man. So, yeah, it's very cool. But what do you got going on, man?
Well, you said it in your intro. Last week, you put up the ESPN article on name, image, and likeness.
Oh,
and,
yes.
I had just shared that with the Band of Brothers. And as you know, I'm interacting and we're communicating about 10 of the Band of Brothers almost daily. In fact, it's about daily. And so we had a really good discussion about their thoughts about NIL. And as always, because I love college football history, let's put it in historical perspective.
No doubt about it. That's all right. So let's put it in historical perspective. And first, let me go ahead and get this up here in your book so that everybody can see it. The Band of Brothers Then and Now, 66 to 70 Mountaineers. Frank, I mean, honestly, man, the book is just absolutely Frank Fear fantastic.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Got it, man.
I appreciate the promotion. And I'll tell you what, I'm charged up over this new sponsor. Boom.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, you're a lot smarter than everybody told me about. Those 66 to 70 guys, they all think they're smart. They're not that smart.
They all love you, Wolfman, I'll tell you that. And that's no exaggeration. But I wanted to start by talking about, what we talked about last week. We talked about Back to the Future, that the Big 12, by admitting Cincinnati and Houston and Central Florida and BYU, it was doing something that the major conferences hadn't done since the late 20s. And that is they started to actually kick out schools that weren't either state flagship universities like the University of Kansas or state land-grant universities, ag colleges, founded as ag colleges like Purdue, or, elite private schools like Northwestern or Duke or Stanford. And all of a sudden now the Big 12 has started something that I think is going to continue. In fact, I was on your show last Monday. Last Friday, San Diego State contacted the Mountain West and said, we need to talk, right? We need to talk about exit fees, how much it's going to cost. So what looks to be happening is that San Diego State is going to be leaving the Mountain West, continuing the trend the Big 12 started, and either go to the Pac-12 or the Big 12. Now there's a lot of pressure on the West Coast to keep San Diego State in the Pacific time zone, so we're going to have to see how that works out. But today we're going to talk about another similar phrase: the more things change, the more they stay the same.
All right.
Because nil is new, name, image, and likeness. But really, from the start, almost from the start of college football, two issues have been in the picture and they haven't gone away. One is athlete safety, and the other is money, the need for money, and the encroachment, some would say, of commercialization. And also the article you talked about said or reported that Senator Manchin, former Governor Manchin, may get involved in helping to draft federal legislation to have a national nil policy, because right now it's state by state. About 30 states have nil protocol. So, but I went back and looked at the history books, Wolfman.
Yeah.
It's not the first time the feds have gotten involved. The feds first got involved in 1905.
Wait, okay, one second. Let me just stop you right there. What do you mean you went back to the history books? Like, did you Google it? What did you do?
Well, the nice thing about universities is that you have historians, and some of them focus on athletics. So there are books, journal articles, magazine articles, you name it. And Theodore Roosevelt was worried about, he was a big sports fan, and he was worried about college football. This number, it blew my mind. Between about 1885 and 1905, almost 400 young men died on the football field. It was a brutal game. First down was 5 yards. There was no passing. And so you had what they call the flying wedge, where, guys would just form a V and just trample. And so a lot of guys died. In fact, there was a WVU player. I want to make sure I get his name right. John Antonic has just recently written about this, a fellow by the name of Rudolph Monk, who died when WVU played Bethany College in 1910. So I did a Google search, and I actually went to the Wheeling Register and read an article that was written in the Wheeling paper about Mr. Monk. Let me read the last sentence. The coroner stated the death was due to hemorrhage of the base of the brain, which produced paralysis of the nervous centers controlling respiration. So that has always been there. The issue of safety with CTE today. Nobody knew what CTE was back then, but we know what it is now. And so that's been there, but we're not talking about that in college football as much as we do in the NFL. But we do talk about money, and the fact that money and commercialization has been there as an issue. And it really started in about the 1920s, right around World War I, then into the 1920s. And the Carnegie Foundation wrote an incredible report that basically just slammed college football, said there was too much commercialization, said that there was corruption in college football. Now, what's interesting about that, Google is great. I went to one of the Chicago papers, and they had one edition, Wolfman, that was all about all the problems in college football. This is 1929. Now, this is a challenge that hasn't gone away. They had this front page article slamming everything. In fact, I've got some of the headlines here. Sports policies lead to deceit and chicanery. That's one of the articles. The Big Ten is charged with violating sports codes. I mean, really, it was the only thing on the front page. Well, the date was October 21st, 1929. Well, those stories went out of the news pretty fast because the stock market crashed 8 days later. And that's what happens now. The feds, senators, representatives, we got to regulate college football, and then all these issues we face as a country happen and nothing really happens. So looking at this from a historical perspective, yeah, NIL is new, But the issue of how are we going to deal with money and the influence of donors, et cetera, that's been in college football for decades. So what I want to do is I want to start focusing on nil, asking the question, how do you change something? How do you introduce change with a thing like nil? Well, most people would say, wait a minute, the NCAA is responsible for this. They have fiduciary responsibility for college sports. It's their job. Well, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Another way is through personal lawsuits, class action suits. And that's the major medium that has gotten us to where we are today. The Ed O'Banion, who played basketball for UCLA, really got pissed off with others about the fact that EA Sports and other games were using the name, the likeness, and the image of college sports players in their games, and players weren't getting compensated. So he filed a lawsuit in California, and he won. That has paved the way for nil. Now,
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm interested. I'm just taking it in, man, because this is it's all step by step, is it not?
It is. And West Virginia played a huge role in this. I think a bigger role than O'Banion, because our own Sean Alston, who was a running back, filed a lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And you know how divided the Supreme Court is, right? They voted 9-0 in Alston's favor. And what did Alston sue over? He said, hey, this limitation of how much funding athletes can get, student athletes can get, as far as their educational stipend, is BS. And so he won. And so that has really laid the foundation for pay for play. Because even though the Supreme Court did not address the issue, what they did was they really voted against the NCAA and say, you can't limit this, because what the NCAA was doing is saying, these are amateurs and as a right, and we're responsible, and so we restrict it. The Supreme Court said no. In fact, I had two colleagues, we're all retired now, husband and wife team at Michigan State in the law college, who did research back and probably starting about 2005 or so. They did a very simple analysis, Wolfman. They took and they analyzed intercollegiate major sports athletes. What do you do during your day? How much time do you spend on your craft? How many meetings do you go to? Blah, blah, blah. And they compared that to people like me, a faculty member. Now, I am an employee. I get a salary. I had fringe benefits. And their conclusion was, hey, these aren't student athletes. They're employees. And so you've got a situation now where now the NCAA is in a scramble. A fellow by the name of Walter Byers became executive director of the NCAA in 1951. And he is personally responsible for the evolution of the NCAA to get these big media contracts and to really encourage the commercialization of the sport, right? And so now, wait a minute now. And he even admitted in his autobiography, he wrote it just before he died, that lawyers were the ones that advised him, you have to adopt this concept. Student athlete, otherwise you're going to get sued. There are going to be labor laws here. So call them student athletes, say it's an amateur sport. Now, we're not talking about D3 here. We're talking about major college sports. So we cannot underestimate the importance of personal and class action suits. There's a third way change happens. First is through the NCAA. Second is through lawsuits. The third is by state and federal legislation. So California was the first state that passed a nil law, was across lines, Republicans and Democrats. I think it was led by a Democrat, a woman from, believe the Sacramento area. And that was the first state. And now we've got most of the states with that adopted so that they're players, the public school players, can sign nil contracts. But it also goes the other way. In my home state of Michigan, the state legislature passed a law that public university athletes cannot unionize, can't unionize. And that was a way to sort of bound this in a way. And then the fourth way is government regulation, where the government regulates organizations like the NCAA. Government regulates a lot. We know that. So, for example, one way to regulate, you may remember, probably about 5 years ago, Northwestern football players got together and they took a vote to the National Labor Relations Council as to whether or not they could unionize as a private school, realizing that states were starting to bar public university athletes. And now we're even after 5 years. It was denied to begin with, but now that organization, the National Labor Relations Board,
Yes,
they're back.
they're back.
They're back.
How much back are they, Frank? Are they going to come in?
You know what I think this is going to happen? This is what I predict. You got a pincer movement going here with not just one avenue, but multiple avenues. And I believe the NCAA is going to be overwhelmed. Now, this is the conversation we've had with the Band of Brothers, the guys I've been interacting with, about 10. You know, there are 4 reactions that the public has to nil. And I'm going to go through all 4 of them really quickly. One of them, I'm not hearing from the guys on the team from 66 to 70. The first one is, this is what I'm not hearing from them, but I'm hearing from a lot of people, and I'm reading up from this from a lot of people on social media. Basically, they're saying to people like me, hey, old man, get with it. Free market system is wonderful. So as a consequence, let these universities compete with each other and let the athletes pick the best opportunity for them. Let them compete, let it be open, and let the athletes decide where they want to go. And you know as well as I, we're seeing players, I mean, for Pete's sake, the quarterback for last year's team, the starter, I think he's on his 4th school now. He's at Rice. Daniels is at Rice. He was at USC before that, Georgia before that, West Virginia. And so Keith Hawkins is weighing in. He's absolutely on target, as always. Good to have you aboard, Keith. So the bottom line is that there's some people who feel that way. The Band of Brothers don't. Second thing that people react, and some of the Band of Brothers feel this way, is, hey, this is like the Wild West. It's ridiculous. It just needs to be fixed. We don't care how. Darryl, absolutely, you can put your 2 cents in. You've got the background and certainly the position to do that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Frank. This is my show. I'll tell you when you can come in.
I'm just reading what's on the screen here, man.
Hey, you got it, brother.
Yeah.
And there we go. And that's it. Now, Frank, don't lose your spot because DP's coming in for 2 cents. But what do you got to say, DP?
So I interviewed for NCAA position in the fall. It was enforcement and something else. And after the interview, they asked me, did I have any questions? And I started talking about the NIL. And their reason, their exact words were, they knew people were cheating. That's why they got involved as far as the money and stuff. That's why they started, this. They said, but it's still a work in progress for them, like he just said. It's a work in progress for them trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah.
They were trying to get ahead of it because they know there is teams out there that was giving money to players, and then they just wanted to be able to control it, and they lost control.
So that they
he's absolutely correct.
Control.
Say that again.
Now they have zero control.
That's right.
They had zero control because it's not equal for everybody. It's just the bigger school is going to have more money. So what about the private schools such as the Ivy League schools? What about them? So it's and you said something about D3. So what about them also? So if it's not even across the board, the people who have the most money are going to get the best players.
Yep.
No, you're absolutely correct, Darryl. And I'm rereading what Keith wrote. Same thing. He says, they didn't have a lot of forward thinking. Now it's out of control and they're overwhelmed.
Well, now wait a second, because Charlie Baker, he was the governor from Massachusetts, but now he's the NCAA president. So he just came last week, and he's saying his first move is to go to the government. That's his first
right.
move.
Well, that's why he's there. That's why the NCAA wanted him to be there, because they're trying to use a political approach to solving this problem, and yet they're not solving it themselves. So if I could just finish the responses. We hit a couple. So first is, the systems, it is what it is. It's a market system. Let it go. Second one, it's a Wild West. Will you please fix it? I don't really care how, but just get it fixed. And the third one is interesting. And Keith Hawkins in his comment gets at it. We have folks. I mean, Charlie Fisher, who's one of the Band of Brothers, as you know, a great defensive tackle, said, regulation. Every time his feeling is, and I agree, a lot of times when the government gets in to regulate, it's hard to say after a few years it's better off. And so as a consequence, why do we want the government to regulate a sports activity? And then the fourth option is that, hey, it really comes down to the NCAA. It needs to step up. It's their mess. And why are they going to Washington now? But if you flip that coin over, I know activist groups who are concerned about the NCAA. Guess what they're doing? They're going to Washington and lobbying Congress to regulate the NCAA. So you got this crazy quilt of, we got to go to Washington. But let me get to the bottom line here, and then let's open it up. The question is, why isn't the NCAA doing anything? They said after the nil laws started state by state that they would come up with their own protocol based on the spirit of amateurism. Then they backed away from that. Why? They don't want it. And there was a line in that article from ESPN that you put up last Wednesday, I think, Wolfman, that explains why. You hope in a complex, contested situation, someone's going to be a truth teller. And the truth teller in that article was the University of Missouri athletic director. Let me read what she said when she was interviewed. It's in that ESPN article. She said, "We are all competitors. We're all looking for advantages, and nil can be a competitive advantage." And so that's why they're not excited when Nick Saban goes to Washington lobbying Congress, because they're saying, oh, he's going to get an advantage for Alabama. If you're at Mississippi State in the same conference, what do we have now? We have a situation where schools don't trust each other. You got Colorado left the Big Eight. Now there's talk about them coming back to the Big 12. You can't tell me that these conference schools sitting around the table in the same conference can come to an agreement, because there's a range. In fact, USA Today just released their finance report for college sports, major college public sports. They do it every year, and they release it around this time. And the gap is huge. Let me put in something that I think is important for the audience, because I've read this on Facebook and other social media. Oh, we're in trouble at West Virginia. We're the poorest school in the Big 12. False. Yeah. There are two schools, public schools in the Big 12, that their budget is smaller. Kansas State, and I was surprised, Oklahoma State. Now, the top two, we know what they are. They're right, Oklahoma and Texas, and they're going to leave. But the bottom line is that West Virginia has a very reasonable budget. It's ranked number 45 in the country, 6th in the Big 12. And this is a stunner. The myth that football pays for everything, and so we've got to pay homage to football, applies to the major schools, not all of them, but most of them. But only 12 major public universities in this country, 12, basically pay for sports through athletic venues. The other schools, and there are about 250 altogether, need subsidies from the general fund of their university or student fees. At WVU, it's about 9 million of a budget that is about 105 million. And 9 million comes from a split between the money that the athletic department gets from the university and also student fees. About 3.4 million in 2022 of the $105 million WVU athletic budget came from student fees. And that's fairly low compared to some schools.
Fees, that's their entrance to the game, is it not?
That's what they pay through their tuition.
Well, they pay for their tuition, but that's so that they can go to the game.
Yeah, exactly. They get a benefit that way. But let's look downstate. Marshall is more typical. Marshall has a $40 million athletic budget, so less than half of WVU. 23 million of the 40 million comes from either state coffers, state of West Virginia, or student fees. 59% of Marshall University athletic budget comes from either the university or from student fees. West Virginia, it's about 8.5%. And so the bottom line is that you've got all these schools competing with each other. They're of various capacities. And so they're trying to win the game the best they can. And so the other piece, and you and I have talked about this, Wolfman, what's not known yet, if you were an athletic donor in the past, your money was going to maybe the athletic department. You were giving money to maybe fund, the new tennis facility, or contributing to new locker rooms. Now, obviously, with the Country Roads Trust, a lot of donors are giving to the NIL fund around the country, not just the Country Roads Trust. They're giving money so that athletes can get NIL money. Now, what's really interesting about this, I don't know if you two, Darryl, Wolfman, and those who are home watching, understand that this is an industry now. So, for example, I'm talking about the NIL industry. There is a website. I got to get the right name of it here so you can actually look it up. It's amazing. This is like an onion. The more you peel, the more you find. It's called On3, ON number 3. What they do is they take all the promising high school athletes and they take all the college athletes, and then they rank them in terms of their NIL value. Okay? So what they do is they take how good are they as athletes, they take how many people are in their social media networks, and they take other factors, and they rate the top 100 in football, basketball, and so on. So I looked at that the other day. There's one West Virginia University athlete, one of the incoming basketball players, Kerr Carissa, and his value is estimated $132,000. Guess who's number one? Well, a guy by the last name of James, right? His dad is LeBron James. Bronny James' value, and he's committed to Southern Cal, is $3.6 million. So what you have now is you've got the NCAA. I think Keith's right on spot. Come on. They don't want to do anything. Now there's pressure in Washington. You've got Tommy Tuberville, who was a coach at Auburn, coach at Cincinnati, who's now a senator. You've got Cory Booker, who played football for Stanford. You've got Joe Manchin, who played football. He would have been in the Band of Brothers if he hadn't gotten hurt, because he graduated in 1970. And so now there's pressure. There's pressure on the NCAA through the government to do something. So the big question is, and I'll leave it with this, what do we do? My own personal opinion is I hope the regulation of college sports fails. The role I think that people like Tuberville and Manchin and people like Cory Booker can do is to broker a deal between the government and the NCAA to have a national policy for NIL. And I think they could do that without having a government regulated approach to this. Now, maybe that's wishful thinking, but the train has left the station, guys. The train has left the station. NIL is here. If anything, we're going to see an acceleration through, who knows, probably through other lawsuits for pay for play that's beyond NIL. And so this NIL story is evolving. It's complex, and yet it leaves a trace of bread that goes back decades that you can study and follow and become more knowledgeable about.
Yeah, Frank, you went ahead, you put it all together, man. Very interesting, seriously. And stop giving Keith all the kudos, all right? He's bragging about he's been following on 3 sites this last year. I don't know about that, but we're going to take his word. So all is good. Frank Fear, man, that is amazing. I'm going to tell you this, is that it's going to be a continuing story. Charlie Baker said it. He's going to go to the government, and if not, the NCAA is going to do something about it. But if they don't, then it's going to be a disaster, and sports are going to continue to keep falling down. And it's going to be the top 2 sports. It's going to be football. It's going to be basketball. And there's not going to be any type of regulation. And if there's not, then, just go ahead and set your SEC schools, whatever you want, the top USC, Big Ten schools, whatever it might be.
You're right. The conferences don't want it. They want to go alone. And so as a consequence, my advice, this is arrogant on my part, to Charlie Baker would be, you got issues in your own house. Can you get your conferences to work together? Can you get your house clean, rather than running to Washington? But that's arrogant Frank. So
yeah. All right, Frank Fair, thank you so much. We're going to have to move on, but remember the sports column here, band of brothers then and now, 66 to 70 Mountaineers. Frank Fear, it's the Frank Fear Hour, historian, author. And if you go to the sportscolumn.com, thesportscow.com, you can write your own articles, get them in there with Frank, or you can see everything that he's doing. Quite interesting, quite impressive. Thank you, Frank Fair. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Thanks for the opportunity, Wolfman.
You got it, man. Well, I tell you, DP, listen, man, the dude's got information, man, I mean, you ask him to do something, he just follows up, and it's really big time. So, pretty impressive. Let me get all this off here, DP. What's going on with you, brother? How you doing today?
I'm good, my man. How you doing?
Yeah, you always got to get your 2 cents in, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you're always doing that. I mean, what's up with that?
I'm a well-rounded guy, So I try to have some information on a little bit of everything. And it was just interesting that he was talking about it, and when I had that conversation with the NCAA, it was, they was trying to get ahead of it. They know, they gave me some details, and they say it was a work in progress, which is going to continue to be a work in progress. So some guys, older guys, are retiring because everybody caught up. You know what I mean? Now it's legal, so so can't do the suitcases and the duffel bags no more. So
you can't do what? I mean, you can't do that brown lunch bag.
Yeah, duffel bags and lunch.
Yeah,
bags.
That's only for the guys that are getting the big suitcases. That's for the Ethiopian superstar.
Yeah. One time, John went down North Carolina to recruit a kid. He had a duffel bag full of clothes. And the grandma was like, "What the F is this? Where's the other bag?"
Oh my gosh, what is this, man? Unbelievable. Then you got Keith there. Hey, Keith Hawkins, you need to keep that yap quiet on your fingertips. Especially your integrity. I'm the most honest guy. Really? What is it? But is it singular? Are you the most guy in your own group? Is that what it is, Keith? All right, we're gonna keep moving on here, buddy. But let's get into this because we're gonna talk about the Hug situation. Obviously, it's not what anybody wanted to see his career come to an end, and he's done with West Virginia. What's your take? Where you think this team is at? You've heard Ren Baker talk. You've probably heard all the fans and what they want. And there are some options here for the Mountaineers, though, as they go forward. What are you hearing? What's your ear to the ground? What are you thinking?
I think, it's a very unfortunate situation. You never, I don't care if I don't like anyone. You don't want nobody to go down like that. You want to go on your own terms because we all gonna get older. You know what I mean? So, even the young people gonna get older. They're gonna, one day they might be in the same boat and, stuff happens. But I think as fans of WVU, I think we should pump the brakes a little bit. Don't panic. You know what I mean? I think they should hire within. Going after names doesn't necessarily solve this issue right now. I think you just put a Band-Aid on it, see how this season goes, because it got mostly seniors anyway.
Wait, okay, let's stop there. You say hire within. What are we talking about?
Who?
Well, who are we at?
I would, the one that's most experienced right now, and who's been there the longest. Miss Atkins, my name is Prue, not Purdue.
All right. Yes.
I'm always ready, Miss Atkins. I'm always ready. I think you go with Everhart. He has some experience coaching before at Duquesne. You can't really. It's hard to win at Duquesne. You know what I mean? Get a second chance. I think he's deserved a second chance. He's been there longer, the longest as a coach. He's done a good job. The other two.
Why do you not want to go to possible John Beeline, who's been at WVU before?
Yeah, he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. Great coach. But like he said some things when he became an NBA coach. Do you want West Virginia to be associated with that after all this is going on?
I'm not familiar with what you're saying there. What did he say?
Yeah, he said something about the prisoners are running an asylum in the NBA. So, you got to be careful, with those guys, what you say.
Yeah,
but,
no doubt.
Yeah, I think, he'll be a great, I think you move on. I think, new stage. Yeah, I think you move on.
Well, what about, so move on. Who's out there?
I mean, I think you wait a year. It's a good team. You see how it goes. Everhart might do a good job. Or somebody who's on staff now might do a really good job.
I'm good friends with Rodney Everhart, so I'm not gonna ever say that wouldn't be a great hire. I think.
Yeah, it's just like him. I don't know if DJ's ready yet, or Josh, but Everhart right now is if would be the most sensible one. If Larry Harrison was still there, he could step right in because he's been doing a lot. But
let me cut you off. I'm sorry, I don't keep interrupting, but I do want to get to the points here. You said DeMar, right? I mean, he can't be a head coach right now. I mean,
not yet. No, it's just I think it's too much. Honestly, I think it's too much. His first year, he hasn't even been there a whole year. You know what I mean?
And what about Josh? You can't do that. He's only been a couple years.
You're right.
He's been there for the whole time as he started off as video coordinator, then he turned into operating teams. But you got to know what you're doing, making that final decision. I mean, I think even Joe Mazzulla experienced a little bit of trouble that way, which is okay. So it's going to lead me to this, and I know you're going to give me a hard time on it, but why not? Why not say I already know that the Boston Celtics are probably Joe Mazzulla are probably unrealistic for the Mountaineers, but I know Joe Mazzulla too. And I do know is that if you went to him and said, listen, all right, I'm not going to give you $4 million a year, but we'll give you 2.5 to 3. We'll build up, but we're going to give you a long-term contract. Okay, and say because you go to the finals of Game 7, half of the darn crowd and the Celtics want to fire you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be successful, but what about that 5% chance that he might think about it? What about that?
What happens if he have a 2-3 game losing streak here?
Well, I don't. But
the fans going to do the same thing. That's how fans going to be fans. Fans will be fans.
Trust me, the Celtics are a little bit more head decapitators, I think, than Mountaineer fans and the loyalty. At least for some. That's my opinion. But I'm saying is, okay. Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about Ronnie. You could say the same thing about
Exactly. I just think you go to the NBA, you might want to stay in the NBA. That's my it's
there's no doubt. I mean,
it's like he's so young, and he did a really good job. Another owner is going to pick him up, even if he's trying to rebuild a team. So he's going to get that experience. He's going to stick around. I mean, like he got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that team wasn't that good. You had two superstars and Marcus Smart. Who else do you have on that team?
Well,
Nothing.
That's
Nothing, right? That's why a team like Miami could stick with them, because they can just fight. As you see, Denver had superstars that stepped up. You know what I mean? So, keep us getting on you. But it's just I think it'd be great if he comes back, but then he had to deal with recruiting. You got to deal with the NIL. You got to deal with the parents. You know what I mean? Like, that's a whole lot of mess than just getting guys you already got and just trying to coach them and coaching men.
all right.
Yeah. You got to hope a guy develops. In the NBA, you're going to have guys that's already there, already good. And, once you get to that, charter here, charter there, I know you're charter at West Virginia, but it's a little different in the NBA. I'm sure he's making almost $3 million now. He will be soon.
Okay, well, listen, I still love Joey. That's
I
my
do
guy
too.
right there. I like when he learned how to switch hands and play with his other opposite hand. That's, for me, I'll always be like, that's the man right there. But okay, so Roddy Everhart, I'm all about. If you want to just pump on the brakes, if we pump on the brakes, do we lose players?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of late too. So with these guys with this NIL, I think they're already locked in. With the salary is, or whatever you want to call it now. I think they locked in. Some the guys on staff recruited them, so I think they will stay for those guys. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, did they come for Huggy or did they come for the NIL? You know what I mean? So this is new time we in, and I think. You keep the staff intact. You do what you have to do for a year and see how it goes. You know what I mean? I just don't think you panic on this situation.
And stick the finger in the wound.
Yeah. Just see how it goes. I mean, like, you're gonna have your ups and downs anyway. You just don't know how this thing's gonna turn out. So they all know the system together. They can all band together, work together, and the players might band together with them, knowing the situation. So this is a pretty good, pretty interesting situation, and it's a tough situation, but it's not an impossible situation, because they still got some real good players there. And so it's just, at this time, it's just everybody when guys come together and teams come together, you can make a lot of noise. So I think you just don't panic. Fans just don't panic. Everybody want to look for the big name. Sometimes the big name is not always the answer. So. I think
okay, but let's go here. Is Ren Baker, I don't know, was he 6 months in, 7 months in? Is he strong enough right now to pump the brakes and not panic? Or is he going to feel the pressure of big name? Give me a big name.
I don't know Ren. I never had a conversation with him. I don't really know much of his background, but I'm sure there's a whole bunch of discussions going on, just like we're talking. They're going through every scenario right now, and I think when cooler heads prevail, I think the outcome will be, good either way. I'm sure they're getting a lot of calls. I'm sure, he's talking to President G. So I think this is more than just an athletic director situation. I think you got to get the president involved. I think you have to get the AD involved. Honestly,
If I was the board involved?
Who?
The board?
I think so. Or like even
That's
the resource nobody never talks about. You have Gail Catlett in Morgantown right now. A guy who's won and played. Not saying he has to coach. Talk to him. Ask him what he thinks about. He has he got 30 plus years of experience in this game. Talk to him. It's like you have a value asset there. Not saying he's going to try to make a decision or make a decision. Reach out to him. Reach out to who was the AD before Luck? Reach out to him. Reach out, because he went through a change. Who was AD before?
Oh my God,
Parson?
Yeah, before Albert.
Yeah. Was it Parsons or
Oh, it's Pascal. Coach Pascal.
Yeah, Mr. Pass-along. Reach out to him and just get everybody's ideas and get put it on the board and see which way to go. So that makes sense. Does that make sense? What happens? Ask questions to yourselves, to your group, instead of just say, okay, I'm gonna hire this guy. At this point, hiring somebody, it's almost July. They got to bring a whole new staff in. That's going to bring turmoil. You might not keep the guys, and things can get a little off band. But if you keep these guys now for this year, at the end of the year, see how it goes, and see how just see how this thing shakes out. Patsy, I don't know if the players have a voice, but I'm sure they do. But at the end of the day, with the NIL thing, it's like, if somebody comes in with more money for somebody, I don't know if they already paid these guys or not. You talk about paying people back, going somewhere else, finding another,
If I get that big money, I'm buying a car right off the bat. I don't know how I'm paying that back.
I think I'd have had 2 cars by now.
Yeah, 2 cars. Be like John Ray, when he got his $25,000 signing bonus, he went and paid for a Cadillac in cash. Big old Southern boy had to get himself a big old caddy. That's the only car you could fit in. I mean, it's 9.5, 370. So, all right, DP, I pick it up what you're putting down, man. You're saying pump the brakes. You're saying have a little bit of courage. Let's keep these players. Hopefully with the NIL money. And for me, if you're gonna hire within, there's only one option, and that is Roddy Everhart. That's my opinion. And who knows? They should hire you, DP. So I've always said that you're a brain. You got connections. Whether it be somewhere in the program, you're good for WVU. Listen, hey, President Gee, Ren Baker, Mr. AD. You got a guy here who's WVU Hall of Fame basketball. I said it for you, so you don't have to say it, all right? But they should hire you some way, shape, or form, and get you involved.
I would love to come back. I would love to help. I helped the other program here in DC, and through my connections with John Thompson, I was able to get on staff, and we made a run. And I would love to come back to WVU. It was just, I tried with Beeline, I tried with Coach Huggins. It was just it never worked out. So, it's not like I never wanted to come back. I did want to come back. So
let's see what happens, brother. Let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
All right. And by the way, last time right here, VIP by guest. Go ahead, real quick.
July 15th is Maryland versus West Virginia. It's the older guys at Fairmont State. Let's bring it. Let's bring it, fans. Let's go. I will be there. So we'll have some fun and some smiles. And I remember the last time we had the alumni event, I just went through my grandmother's stuff. I found about 100 articles and books from media guys when I played at West Virginia. I sent some pictures to Ray Foster, Steve Berger, and Herbie Brooks with all our pictures and stuff in it. So we'll be there. So let's support West Virginia.
So the old timers will be there, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're going to try to be there. Yeah.
All right, DP. Love you, brother. Have a great day, man. We'll be talking to you real soon. We'll be bringing you back sooner than you think.
Okay. How was your Father's Day?
Oh, I'll tell you what. I got 5 kids, man. You know what? I ate pretty good.
I know that's right.
Take care, man.
Bye.
See you. All right, Darryl Prue, man, and lay it down. He said, pump the brakes, put the pump on the brakes, have some courage. Courage, have some courage. You know what I'm saying? There you go. And I think there's one guy who has 0 courage. And, Thursday is supposed to be, a man named Reno. And like I said, you never trust a guy named Reno who was born in California. The two just don't work out. Well, and I think I found him, and look what we got. Reno Bellamy. Reno.
Hey, Wolf. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, well, speak up.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Listen, I'm going to tell you something, okay? How many times have I fired you?
You keep firing me for all this volunteer work. It's making me
Wait a
laugh.
minute. No, who said volunteer work? There are other ways to pay besides cash. Uh, okay, so let's get that straight. Now, let me ask you a question. Why did
Yes,
your parents name you Reno when you're from California?
I'm pretty sure I already told you the story.
Yeah, give it to us. 'Cause I don't
It's
remember.
not. It's
Because you know why? Because I just don't. You tell me stuff, but I don't remember.
so that's not my real name.
Oh, that's yeah. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I had it changed. My name is Rennie, and over the loudspeaker, they were kept saying, they kept saying Renee because they can't read over there in California. So I had to I changed it to Reno.
You changed it to Reno. Oh my gosh. You got tired of Renee?
Well, my dad did the same thing. So my dad's I'm a second
Why did your
generation
dad let you be called Renee?
Reno. It's Rennie.
Oh, it's
It
Rennie.
wasn't supposed to be
It's not
Renee.
Renee.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not Renee.
all right. Well, okay. I brought you out here because I wanted your expertise, Renee.
On what? What can we
Okay,
do?
so I'm going to play this here. This is George Kittle, San Francisco
Okay.
49ers. Okay, they're talking about, you know who Kyle Shanahan is? Do you even know who he is?
Yes, I know who he is.
Who is he?
Carry on. He's the coach. Come on.
Coach for who?
For the 49ers.
Okay, well, I'm surprised.
I'm from California. Come on.
Who's George Kittle?
He was the tight end.
He is the tight end. All right, here we go.
Play multiple times, and it's averaging like 2 yards a carry, 2 yards a carry, 2 yards a carry. And then we threw a play action behind it, and Debo goes for 75 yards against Seattle. And the whole thing is set up because it's the exact same motion, it's the exact same alignment, it looks the exact same. And all of a sudden, Debo's running the shallow. I'm faking like on the defensive end. Linebacker thinks it's power. He steps up 4 yards, and Debo's uncovered in the flat running for a touchdown. So it's just stuff like that that's really fun because, I mean, Kyle Shanahan, he's like, hey, if I can get my skill players the ball with field, like with space in front of them, whether it's Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, we're all running for days. And that's what's really fun because we have such a great yak team.
Okay, yak. Do you know what yak means?
I don't.
It's yards after catch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's-
Okay. Now I
Oh,
got it.
you knew that. You already knew that, didn't you?
Well, I haven't heard that in a long time.
All right. So what did he just tell you right there? What being the guy, your guy, Reno, you're an average dude. You're an average
Yep.
guy, from California with the not really sure about your name. But what did you pick up from that from George Kittle? Let me see if you can take it. Your listening comprehension.
Well, what I hear is a coach who makes it fun for the kids or the athletes. Sorry, these guys, if they're having fun, they're going to play well. And if you can get the guys the ball, spread it around a little bit, I think the team comes together and wins games.
That's all you got out of that?
Yeah. What else do you want me to get? You got Kittle's not a very selfish guy. You got that out of there. He's happy to block. He's happy to do whatever the team is asking for him.
Well, that's why he's the best tight end in the league, in my opinion. Now, Kyle Shanahan, I think, is for the actual getting a tight end into the game. I'm not talking about Andy Reid, and I'm not talking about Kelsey, who is actually half the time a wide receiver, if not 60% a wide receiver split out from the box. George Kittle's a guy that can play from the box. And what I got there is that he's going to pound the ball. He's going to pound the ball. And it's going to go pound the ball. And then guess what he's going to do? He's going to play action it because everybody's going to jump in the defense because he's going to pound it. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. And then he's going to go, boom. And he's going to pull the ball. He's going to throw it up over the top. And everybody's going to go ahead and act like they're running the ball. And they got to be really good actors. Now, you're from California, so acting is probably something you know very well. Being that those, what do you think of that?
You mean from Hollyweird? Yeah, I think you're right. The acting part is not so much acting; it's following through. I mean, you watch guys play ball all the time, Wolf, and if they're not getting the ball, they kind of act like it's they don't go all out. And you got to have everybody's goes all out, even the quarterback. Being a linebacker, when the damn quarterback hands off the ball or throws the ball and then continues his route or continues his motion to make you think he still has the ball, makes a world of difference for the play. I mean, you take one step to the wrong direction as a linebacker, you can miss the play.
Well, I think that also talks about getting out of the player's zone because you're making them bite. So that's why there's so many coordinators that when you run the ball and you control the ball, like a Chad Scott this year, right? Chad Scott, do you know who Chad Scott is?
No.
That's WVU's offensive coordinator / with Neil Brown, but Chad Scott, okay, running back coach. You just showed yourself on that one, all right? So
hey, you guys, I've been kicked out of Morgantown 2 years ago. What do you want?
no, you know what? It's pretty amazing the fact that you knew who George Kittle was, but you don't know Chad Scott. I mean,
Let's see, NFL tight end.
Hey, do you see that? Hey, we got
we talked about WVU, right? You don't want to hear my opinion on that right now.
J.A. Jones evening guys from England. They're watching Reno, who's from California. Renee, we'll call it Renee, he's watching from England. So you made this good. Now, I'll tell you what, I think you really did get the basis of what he was talking about. And I like the fact that you said that he's not a selfish player, because being a selfish player can do what? Be a cancer in the locker room. So if you have 11 guys on the field, all hoping that everybody else is successful, you really have something of all guys going to that limit. Would you agree?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. That's where magic happens.
Magic
when I think I got a little bit caught a little bit of what Darryl was talking about, when a team could come together, not looking for that one athlete to carry a team or that one superstar to make the difference, when actually it's the team that makes the difference. It's the same scenario he was talking about. A lot of good things can happen when players are out there for each other. You always talk about you're huge on this, the brotherhood, whether it was guys who played in the past or guys who play now, there's still a brotherhood there, hoping for good for everybody. That's a great thing. I mean, that doesn't happen everywhere, Wolf.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Okay, you're not fired today because I will say this though, is that why didn't you show up on Thursday?
Yeah. Well, you sent me a link to something that was incorrect, I believe.
So you're trying to throw that on me? You're throwing shade on me.
I tried to get on. It was unsuccessful.
You were talking to the wrong company.
I got onto the wrong show. Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be hilarious. Hey, I got onto the Pat McAfee show by accident.
Yeah, no, that wasn't by accident. That was they thought you were DoorDash, Pat McAfee. All right, Reno from California. Never trust a guy named Renee from California. Seriously, Renee, man, that's pretty good. We'll have to discuss this the next time you come on. We'll have to get further about this. But your first take on the play action pass and setting up for the play action pass, and that's pretty good, Reed. I'll give you some kudos for that.
I didn't know you were going to test me today. I wasn't aware.
I think every day should be a test. I think
it's like Young Guns, right? You got to test yourself every day. That's the test. That's the test of all tests. I love that movie.
All right, we'll start talking about movies at a different time. All right, Reno Bellamy, man, thanks for stopping in. Although you know what, if you avoid me again and you don't show up, you're gonna get fired. All right,
all right. Sounds good, Wolf. I'm going back to work. Have a good one.
Yeah, you go to work. All right. Likely story. He's going to go back to work. All right. So, everybody, that was George Kittle. Let me just finish up with this on George Kittle and Kyle Shanahan. Now, I know the Mountaineers got this Cole Taylor, Traylon Davis, and a bunch of tight ends that they want to use. And I'm really fired up about it. I've been saying that for years. Everybody knows that if you follow me at all, if you listen to anything I've said, is that the offense needs to use the tight end. Well, I think, Cole Taylor, 6'7". We heard Nico Marchio talking about it last week. Big deal, man. Big deal in the red zone. Big deal, getting up there. I like it at any time. They said they may line him up just wide and let him go for a 50-50 ball. Who wants a 50-50 ball? I want a 50-50 ball. Cole Taylor wants a 50-50 ball. Hey, go ahead and do that. I don't care. You want to line him up like that. I do love the fact, though, that the tight end. So if I was a head coach still, I'm not a head coach anymore, but if I was head coach, I'd have my whole offensive staff, coordinator, tight ends coach, everybody studying what Kyle Shanahan for the 49ers does to get his tight ends open. I'm telling you that George Kittle, I think at one point, if he didn't finish the season, at one point he was leading the team in receptions. That's a tight end. That's what happened. I think Kelsey did as well. That's what happens when you really focus in on a tight end, because it gives you so much over the middle that it's hard to cover unless they're going man. And then you go vertical and you got a safety. You get the mismatches. You want the safety. 6'7" mismatches. He's got arms that reach up to the sky. He can touch the clouds at 6'7". Go ahead, 50-50, do it. Take your chance. I'm all about that. If it doesn't work out, well, you tried, man. At least you tried. You have to incorporate the tight end. Now, here's the difference. If you're going to incorporate the tight end in the game, it's got to be a full immerse all the way in. That means that you have to immerse him in the run game. Just like George Kittle. The reason why I did this, and Reno was really smart, and he picked that up, is that you pound him up. It's a setup. It's a setup. So when you're an offensive coordinator, you set the defense up. And you heard George Kittle talking about it, because then you can set him up, and there's a lot of grass to run. It's brilliant. Kyle Shanahan, I just recommended. I said, if I was a head coach and I want to put in the tight end, like we've never used the tight end. WVU has not used the tight end as much as I believe that they should have. I mean, whatever they tried, but it hasn't tried very hard. Because if you want to, you can go ahead and you can call a play specifically for a tight end. Okay, you can call bootleg. You can do a lot of things to specifically go for the tight end, and I haven't seen to date. But I'm hoping the way they're talking, I heard from Nico, I heard from Chad Scott. I mean, I think that's where they want to go. So I am saying I encourage to get that tight end, especially when right now you don't have a lot of proven receivers at the Power 5 level. Yeah. Okay, you got one. All right. So, but you don't have a lot. Again, it's not that they can't, because they may go ahead and prove themselves. But I know this. I got a 6'7" tight end. Traylon Davis, he can make catches. I got that. I can use that. Use every weapon you have. Don't hold back, man. Open up your toolbox, man, and use all the tools you got. Open it all up. Open up your playbook. Open up your playbook and you got some crazy cats there, quarterback with unusual skills, with a running ability. Go ahead and open up. George Kittle, I love watching that guy play. He is just all about football. But you don't have to be a George Kittle talent to be successful with the tight end. You don't have to be a Gronk to be successful. You can be a Power 5 guy, tight end, or even I don't care. I'll go down to high school. It doesn't matter, because it's the same relativity across the board, same skill levels, same age levels, same all that. It's easy to focus on the tight end if you want to, but to focus on the tight end means you have to focus on the tight end, not just check down. Okay? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go trips over here. I put my tight end over here, and we may go trips out there, tight end here. So 3-by-1, tight end's in the line. It could be spread out a little bit, whatever, but in the line, and we're going to do something specifically for him. I'm going to bootleg my quarterback, who's a running quarterback. So now you got two options. An option is find the tight end, find the receiver. There's not a lot of checkdowns on that. You look at your first check, and then you look at your second one, your first read, and then your second one, or you run it. I mean, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, but it's simple. And just like the 49ers do with Kyle Shanahan, they go ahead and they use their alignments and they make it like the same play. It's a setup, man. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, whoop, pull the ball up top. Receivers, maybe, tight end, whatever is successful. But if you want the tight end to be in the game, if you say you want to focus on the tight end, then it means that you actually have to focus on the tight end and call plays for a 6'7", a 6'4", and Traylon Davis, whatever it is, you actually have to call it because most of the time, most defenses in college football don't know how to cover the tight end. Anybody have anything to say about that? I know, J.A. Jones, you still here, man, from England? I doubt it. But it's nice to have you. Nice to have everybody that's contributed today. We got a special tomorrow. Hillary Jeffries from the National Football Foundation. Aaron Beasley is up for the Hall of Fame. It's only this month that we can vote. Only this month you can sign up. So Hillary Jeffries from the foundation. She went to WVU. She's a big WVU fan. And she openly admitted, we got Jim Carlin, the coach. We have to get in there. I think Randy Moss is going to be fine, but still, we got to vote for him. He's West Virginia, and that's what it is. And we're going to have Hillary up there tomorrow doing some good things. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have Scott Hawley talking about the Hall of Fame. Chuck Hawley from WVU, via WVU to the Cowboys via Wheeling, right? Who've grown up there at Wheeling. And a big West Virginia guy, Dallas Cowboys, the rings of honor. He finally made it in. It's long overdue. So his son, Scott, is going to come on the show Wednesday. And actually, Scott has done a great job. His family, what a wonderful family he's got. So we got some good stuff coming on. We're going to have the Ranger, Maverick Wolfley, is going to come on. So a lot of things happening this week. Focusing on here, we'll follow what's going on in basketball as best we can. Maybe we'll bring back Darryl Prue just to talk about it, find out. Maybe we'll get some other guys talking here. So, with all that being said, man, the WolfMan's call is turning up the heat. We're turning up Mondays through Thursdays. It's just getting more and more intense, and it will as we build. It's just the summertime, and here we are. We're bringing you the best. We're bringing in the brothers. And if you want to get involved, if you want to talk about this WVU Hoops situation, then I'm going to tell you, come on board. I'll leave the link up for you. All you got to do is get in here, and you have every opportunity to come and speak as long as you keep it relatively respectful and humble. It's okay to disagree. It's not cool to not be cool, if you know what I'm saying. All right, so anything else? Or should I leave with anything else in the pocket? I'm leaving it all out there today. I mean, you even had a man named Reno, which I'll tell you, dude actually got it going on and told us what's happened. We are going to bring him back because I think he's got a lot to offer for the WolfMan's call. It makes me laugh. It really makes me laugh. So that's good stuff. Anything else for the good? If not, enjoy. Once again, we thank Paul Minnie, Chargers and Batteries, for joining the WolfMan's call. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Traylon Davis. I'm from Jackson, Ohio, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar rewards card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia, always in stock.